Hello, everyone, and welcome to the week ahead. We are in a time where Venus is significantly important to this whole week. She is the ruler of Mercury. The moon's in Virgo right now, which is ruled by Mercury, and she rules Mercury, and that she's ruling the sign of Libra at the moment. Whenever I speak to present moment rulership, it's always about where the transiting planets are at this time. And then she's currently transiting the sign of Scorpio. So I thought to illustrate what Venus in Scorpio is, I would share a little song with you. Actually, this is a song that I love. It's by Ayla Nero. Um, it's a song called Show Yourself, and I'll put a link to the song in the description of this video. But the lyrics to this song perfectly describe some of the aspects of this Venus and Scorpio transit. She says, I do not show this skin for you. I show myself to know myself. I show for the earth from which I came. My prayer is for you to do the same. I release you. I receive you. I release you. I receive you. It will take all we've got. It will spread like comfort. When out all the insides and down all the corners, when doubled and breaking, all wide-eyed and crazy, you whisper sweet somethings to the one that you are saving. Your mirror and likeness, your servant and highness, the earth in one being, your body the queen. That's not the entirety of this lyrics, and the song itself is so incredibly beautiful. So definitely take a listen if you feel called. But it illustrates this aspect of Venus in Scorpio so beautifully. This self-revealing quality of peeling all the layers of ourselves down to show the sweet nothingness of who we are. And in a way, that's the process that we've been in, right? That's kind of the process of the balsamic moon phase in a sense, too. The moon is heading into total darkness before this eclipse, which is the highlight of this week, the marker of this week. Um, it is a purification time, a process. And her point of, I show myself to know myself, right? We don't reveal ourselves. In Libra, right, we're learning through the relationship to the other. But the purpose of our revealing ourselves, whether it's to another or in any way, shape, or form, is for the self-understanding, the innermost looking to reveal the truth of who we are. And when I mean truth, I'm talking about like truth with a capital T, the love that we are at the very core of our being, beyond all the conditioning and the stories and the pain and the wounds that we might carry in this life. All those stories stripped away only leave something else, something so raw and so beautiful that I think we're often afraid of seeing that, because we've been conditioned to believe that when we truly show ourselves, we might actually be revealing something ugly, shadow, dark, scary, and that others won't love us, that we'll be hurt or rejected, you know. And as someone who's experienced quite a lot of what I would consider unrequited love in the last couple of years, and I'm now really coming into a place in myself where the depth of my love for myself and for God has only grown in the face of releasing those patterns and experiences and stories and attachments, right? Scorpio is about attachment. I can see that the beauty of this new moon, that what it's bringing forward for us, is a new way of relating that is free from those old patterns. And in that way, eclipses are quite powerful. They are not just the day of the eclipse. It's interesting to me also that this new moon finds itself falling on the high holiday of Rosh Hashanah, which in the Jewish tradition is a holy day, in the beginning of really several weeks of high holidays, beautiful times of reflection and prayer and celebration that are so sacred to an entire culture, and um, not just from a religious perspective, but from a cultural perspective as well. So we have a week where what we're stripping down to in this time is the sacredness of our life, of what we bring forward in our life. And I think, as we build in the week ahead, so it's Monday here, these last 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, are Virgo moon days. And then the moon's going to cross the south node on Wednesday, which is Rosh Hashanah, and enter its complete full darkness and perfect in a total, what is it, solar eclipse on the south node in Libra. And this is not the last eclipse on the Libra Aries side. 6 months from now, we'll have a new moon total eclipse on the Aries end, on the north node. However, by that time in March, when that eclipse happens, the nodes of the moon will have already moved into Virgo Pisces. So this is essentially the last eclipse of the year, the last eclipse on the nodal axis of Aries and Libra. It's significant in that respect. And it's ruled entirely by this Venus in Scorpio. She's moving also this week in her trine aspect to Mars. And so, by the time we get to the Scorpio moon a few days after the new moon, she will be in a trine, to Mars by the end of the week. So as she's building her energy, we also have a few other things happening that I don't want to miss. The other being that we have this, conjunction of Black Moon Lilith and Mercury. This stellium in Libra is activating quite a few things, and I think on the the most common side of it is the relationship of self to other, right? The relationship of peace and harmony, balance. And you wouldn't want to look in your natal chart as to where this eclipse is falling. Ari Moshe just recently did a video of, the lunar eclipse through the houses, which is on his YouTube channel. But I won't take that time. You can listen also to the month ahead where I cover this lunation. But if you're wanting to understand where it's falling, you would find in your natal chart where the house of Libra is. And for some folks, it might be in, two houses, like you can see with this Scorpio rising. Part of the Libra house is the 12th house and part is the 11th house. So depending on where this falls in your natal chart, there's several different areas of life that are being activated by this eclipse, not only the Libra house, but basically the cardinal signs, Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, are being heavily activated. And those planets that are there, of course, are Mars. We have Ceres, the mother goddess, who's in the sign of Capricorn right now. And she is in a square to Mercury during this eclipse. We also have Chiron transiting in Aries along with the North Node. And then by the end of this month, and I talk about this in the month ahead, you'll see all the Libra planets move through their opposition to Chiron. So as we work through the week, growing light of the moon is one of my favorite times because we're planting seeds, intentions, things are beginning in the new moon phase, but it's not a revealed time. It's not necessarily a time where we consciously know, oh, this is what I'm growing. It's almost like if you think of planting seeds in darkness or in a way where you don't actually know what the seed is, you can't see what the product will be. Even if you know, let's say you know, oh, I'm planting a sunflower seed, and you expect, anytime we have expectations, we're bound to have disappointment in some way, shape, or form if we cling to them too tightly. If we expect this is going to form into this, we might be grossly disappointed when our sunflower gets blanched by too much heat that comes afterwards, or doesn't get enough watering, or grows but doesn't flower. Like I planted dahlia tubers for the very first time this year. I've been wanting to plant dahlias forever. I've seen so many people make incredible gardens of dahlias, and I love them. And then I planted these tubers and none of them have flowered. And I thought I was doing all the right things, planting them on the new moon in Taurus, planting them after the last sign of frost. I could have never anticipated, one, was not able to protect them from my 2-year-old who sort of ripped the leaves off of one of them. And I don't know what I'm doing this first round. Does it mean I don't have the potential to grow flowers in the future? Absolutely not. It was a development of my relationship to this plant. And it was a learning process, one I'm still undergoing. But that's kind of like what the new moon energy is like. Within the new phase, Jeffrey Wolf Green says that when planets unite in a function so that a new evolutionary cycle can begin, it happens in an instinctual way. The new cycle or purpose will be projected spontaneously without any egocentric awareness. This means without the mind, the emotional body of the moon, without our ego identifying this is what's happening, something arises spontaneously. That's what we're paying attention for. Random experiences will be initiated in order to begin that process of self-discovery in this phase. So when we're here, right, in this eclipse season, and instinctually drawn to different random experiences, whether it's connection and relationship, whether it's, a new line of work, um, some new pathway, we don't have any control over what the outcome is. It's like if you begin dating somebody and then you get fixated on the idea that this has to be my person, right? But you have no idea. This person could simply be um eliciting things in you that that help you to clarify your values, and you might later realize like, wow, that's definitely not the right person for me. But what it did was it prompted me to do all this inner looking around what I truly value, what I truly desire, and that has led me somewhere else, right? It's instinctual, it's random, it's spontaneous, and it's an initiation when it's in a cardinal sign. And in particular, because this is the last of this eclipse, this is the last one that will happen in the Libra Aries, um, you know, nodal cycle for the next 18 years. This is the last one that will happen in our lifetime with Pluto in Capricorn. There is some finality to a particular cycle and a vast evolutionary new cycle beginning. So, not to hype eclipses, which a lot of astrologers do, I think it's significant. It's almost like we're just sticking our toe in the sand of a 250-year cycle and saying, this happens to be where I am right now. And it will never be the same again, right? When we really recognize the The present moment is always evolving us, no matter whether we return to various different patterns or relationships or things from the past come back. They're always evolved. They're never the same. And they always have changed us or shaped us in some way, shape, or form. I talk about this a little in the month ahead when I'm speaking about the vulnerability of how difficult experiences, dark experiences in my life have shaped me into a more loving human being, and how that actually was a conscious choice, not something that happened by default. It was embracing the evolutionary necessity that those karmic dynamics in relationship were eliciting, right? Jeffrey Wolf Green talks about this in the karma mates, soulmates dynamics, and how critical it is, right? Our own choice and self-responsibility. So it feels, significant this particular week. And I do think, especially as the moon's in Scorpio, Venus is trining Mars, there's a high degree of emotionality. But those emotions are not necessarily bad. I would say that they can actually be quite liberating for us and help us bring fresh insight and perspective and things that we can finally see within ourselves a little bit of a deeper truth and a more emotionally honest if we step into the process wholeheartedly. And then we get later on in the week to where we have this Capricorn moon, which will eventually oppose Mars and then conjunct Saturn, or sorry, Pluto. But Saturn is ruling this Capricorn moon, still in Pisces, still retrograde. And this Capricorn moon forms our first quarter square. And the first quarter square really activates that powerful, like, okay, now I know a little bit about what my seed is all about. I know a little bit about what my intentions are revealing to me. And I would say from this new moon, if I don't usually do ritual on eclipses, just it's my own personal preference not to do that anymore. Um, but what I still will actively clean and prepare and my house, and I would still pray and do a lot of self-reflection during this time. And I think given that the new moon is on Rosh Hashanah, there is really an invitation with this particular cycle to set new intentions for a new year, as if it is a new year, if it is a really heightened new beginning in our lives. And at the same time, it's not really until we get to this first quarter square, which is opposite, Mars is involved in a T square. Um, Juno is opposite Chiron, that we get to the grit of how do we actualize this in our life? Like, how do we actually build the structures? What are the real things that we need to develop emotional maturity in commitment, in committed relationships? What do we actually have to do to be able to give voice to our wounds, and express things in such a way that the deepest parts of ourselves are both self-revealed to ourselves and to the other, to those who are responsible or we're responding to. And all of this happens right after this station of Jupiter, who's turning retrograde. Jupiter is in Gemini right now and is ruled by Mercury um, during this transit. And I often find that during the Jupiter retrograde parts of the cycle, if there was progress or a lot of forward movement, a lot of expansion in that Gemini house in a particular way, there is also a pullback and a refinement. I saw this pretty significantly when Jupiter was in Taurus, that like if there was an expansion of your resources, how much money was coming in, that there was a big contraction of those opportunities during that time. And with Jupiter and Gemini, this is an expansion of our consciousness, our thinking, right? And think about it this way. Um, it's like, oh, I want to write a book. I want to get it out there. I write and I write and I write and I write and I end up with 10,000 pages and 100,000 words, and then you submit it to your editor. They say that's great, but we only want to publish 5,000 word books. We realize that people have shorter attention spans and that this won't sell in that way. And so you can't really go back to the drawing board, but what you have to do in a sort of Libra, Venus, and Scorpio way is cherry pick the parts of what you've created in order to really get it down to what is good, what's valuable, what's beneficial, what is truly helpful, right? And so maybe you've been trying to um get something going and all of a sudden it slows down, but for you to reach a place of deeper commitment to refining what it is that you're actually doing, you know, and this can be affected in any area of our life. I'm just trying to give an example of, and Jupiter retrograde is a longer process, right? It's going to be several months of Jupiter being retrograde. This is just the start of it, but I do find that on the station days, which the moon happens to be opposite Jupiter in Sagittarius on the station day, that's a significant signature because Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. Um, if we've been putting out like 1,000-word content and all of a sudden you realize people are unsubscribing because it's too much, that might be an invitation to really scale back and say, well, what is it that I'm truly trying to say? If we've been struggling to be able to have the conversations with people that are necessary because there isn't enough time in the day to make space for real connection, we might need to slow down and actually create space that allows for us to meet those connections in the way that they are um, requiring from us. And then we move from Rosh Hashanah, which is on the new moon, to Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement in the Jewish high holidays. And to me, it's my favorite Jewish holiday of all. Um, I don't know. I don't know why, other than there's something about like really humbling oneself and coming to God and having this genuine period of amends and reflection because we're desiring to continue living, but we want to live in a better way, right? We want our name to be written in the book of life once more for one more year. And we also do things like acknowledge those things that we've lost. We acknowledge those things that we've done wrong or where we haven't quite made the mark of what our higher self knows is truly possible for us. So this is, such a sacred and holy time this week, especially, um, that I really would just say, like, take your time with it, take your time with each day, slow down as much as you can. Um, give yourself permission to make the most of these eclipse season because in a way, what happens in this period of accelerated growth is that we can go through immense change in a very short amount of time. But we need also this space to integrate, to catch up with ourselves, really to rest and be renewed by the process itself. And so I hope and pray for your sake, one, that you have a beautiful new beginning in this time. I send you my blessings and my love for these holy days of, you know, renewal in our relationships, renewal in our relationship to ourself, which is the one relationship we have our entire lifetime, and renewal to our relationship to our soul and the deepest calling that we are able to carve out the time for deep listening from within to know what that is. And I would just also pray for healing and deep forgiveness, for the miracle of forgiveness to encompass our lives and strip away what is no longer necessary for us to carry as a burden, to make our lives lighter and more love filled in every way possible. So, my friends, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know any wishes or prayers you have for this year, for the remainder of this year, for this time and this season. Share your heart with me if you feel called. As always, feel free to reach out to me directly. My email is astrologywithmichelle@gmail.com. You can go to my website, astrologywithmichelle.com. You'll see classes and things that I'm offering. And if you're on my email list, you'll be notified when I post free classes or announce things. um, yeah, and take good care of yourself in this time. I wish you all the best, my friends, and bye for now.